A small pricing gap began appearing on shelves long before anyone paid attention. 10 cents here, a few percent there. Nothing dramatic on its own. But inside supermarket headquarters, those gaps were tracked, measured, and amplified until the economics behind them reshaped entire aisles. What looked like a minor adjustment in everyday staples became something far larger, a deliberate shift in how retailers like Walmart, Kroger, Aldi, Costco, and Tesco built power. Private labels weren't just expanding, they were becoming one of the most profitable engines in modern retail, growing faster than many national brands, and in some cases outperforming entire categories. The first insight sets the tone. Private label penetration across major US grocers now sits in the mid-20% range, but certain chains, Aldi, Lidl, Trader Joe's, have pushed well above 70%. Even the largest retailer in the United States, Walmart, generates tens of billions annually from its portfolio of store brands. And the advantage underneath that scale is straightforward. Private label margins can be 2 to 3 times higher than equivalent national brand items. A retailer earning single-digit margins on a name brand condiment can earn multiples of that by producing its own version. This transforms the shelf into a controlled financial instrument. National brands operate within the constraints of manufacturing, marketing, and wholesale agreements. Retailers operate with leverage. They control price architecture, promotional timing, and placement. They know which items convert, which ones drive basket size, and which ones anchor value perception. And when a retailer decides to introduce its own SKU in a high-volume category, the economics of that category start bending toward their advantage. The hidden mechanism is category governance. Retailers act as both referee and competitor. National brands negotiate for displays, end caps, and featured promotions. Private labels bypass all of it. A retailer does not need to buy visibility for its own product. Shelf position is internal. Promotional costs are internal. The margin structure is internal. This is why inflation became a turning point. As prices climbed at their fastest rate in decades, consumers shifted aggressively toward lower-cost alternatives. Kroger reported private label share rising into the mid-20% range. Target's owned brands moved past 30%. European grocers saw mid-single-digit share gains in a single year. But when inflation slowed, the return migration didn't materialize. A significant portion of shoppers stayed, especially after discovering that many private label items matched or exceeded expectations. Retailers accelerated the momentum. Walmart expanded its great value and market side lines into more premium adjacencies. Kroger strengthened its private selection and Simple Truth brands across dozens of categories. Costco leveraged its Kirkland signature label to compete directly with national brands on coffee, snacks, dairy, frozen foods, and even protein powders, often delivering high volumes at consistently strong margins. Behind these moves lies a second mechanism: supply chain integration. Retailers have invested heavily in forecasting systems, automated distribution centers, and vendor-managed inventory models. This allows them to identify rising products early. If a niche category grows, they can replicate it with private label in a fraction of the time national manufacturers require. A trend that takes a brand 9 months to commercialize might take a retailer 4. And then there is retail media. As companies like Walmart Connect, Kroger Precision Marketing, and Amazon's advertising platform expanded, retailers gained access to granular data on shopper behavior, conversion rates, price sensitivity curves, cross-category baskets. This data powers product design, pricing, packaging decisions, and even flavor development. A brand spends millions to learn this information. A retailer sees it the moment a shopper scans their loyalty card. This creates a flywheel effect. More data leads to better formulations. Better formulations increase share. Higher share creates more data. Over time, private labels move up the value chain, shifting from budget alternatives to premium flagships. Some grocers now boast private label portfolios valued in the tens of billions. But the consequence is structural tension. As private labels gain prominence, negotiation dynamics with manufacturers shift. Price increases face more resistance. Promotions lose influence when retailers prefer to spotlight their own brands. Slotting fees become less relevant, and in high-volume categories, snacks, dairy, canned goods, frozen meals, the fight for shelf visibility becomes more intense. Manufacturers who once relied on retail partners to carry their brands now compete against those same partners expanding product lines. For consumers, the outcome is nuanced. They gain affordable options and more variety. Yet, the long-term effect is consolidation of influence. When retailers control both the shopping environment and the brands within it, they gain unprecedented control over category architecture. They choose which products expand, which remain static, and which fade quietly into lower placements. Zooming out reveals the strategic shift underway. Retailers are no longer passive distributors. They are becoming manufacturers, R&D investors, brand incubators, and marketing platforms. Some chains now explore partnerships with co-packers, innovation labs, and even upstream agricultural suppliers. Shelf ownership is becoming brand ownership, and as private label portfolios expand, they reshape the economics of packaged food, SKU by SKU, category by category, year after year. What remains uncertain is the upper limit. How far will retailers push into premium categories traditionally protected by national brands? Will they expand into functional beverages, plant-based platforms, sports nutrition, or ready-to-eat meals at scale? And how will national manufacturers respond when the gatekeepers of retail distribution become their strongest competitors? Because the rise of private labels isn't just a shift in price tiers. It is a redistribution of power, subtle at first, then structural, then unmistakable. And every time a shopper reaches for a store brand item, the echo of that shift grows stronger, reshaping the quiet balance that once defined the grocery aisle.